it's Miss Reynolds with B.O.R.E.D. Better Off Reading Every Day. Today's book is The Brand New Kid by Katie Couric. It is illustrated by Marjorie Priceman. The Brand New Kid. The Brand New Kid. Ellie McSnelly and Carly O'Toole were running and laughing. Their first day of school was today. Ellie McSnelly and Carrie O'Toole were running and laughing. Their first day of school was today. And they wondered just what was in store. Would this be a good year? Would school be a bore? This sounds like it's going to be two fun girls. They kept fingers crossed they'd be in the same class and on a big table that they had to pass. They checked to find out to which room they should go. McSnelly, 240, O'Toole, I don't know. Oh, here it is, dear. You're 240 as well. They squealed with delight. Oh, gee, this was swell. 240 meant they would both have Miss Kincaid, the best teacher by far in the whole second grade. Best teacher ever. They took their seats quickly. Miss Kincaid called the roll. Emily Allen, here. Tyler Antol, here. Peter Barsinski, here. Rachel Brooks, here too. She went down the list until she was all through. Then she got to the boy who was not in her book. We have a new student, they all turned to look. His name is different. His name is a different one. Laszlo S. Gasky. He's new to our school and the town of Delaski. Lots of rhyming, boys and girls. Be patient with me. Please welcome him here, won't you? All please say hi. But the student just turned and stared at the new guy. His hair was so blonde. Why, it looked almost white. It stuck out all over. It didn't look right. His lips were bright pink. His eyes very blue. He looked at his feet and he fidgeted too. He was quiet at first and then yelled out, "Hello!" His voice booming so loud it made Ellie say, "Whoa." The other kids laughed. Gee, this new boy was weird. Too different and strange to fit in, they all feared. Now class, Miss Kincaid said, her voice shrill and tight, let's focus on learning and getting things right. She turned from the students. White chalk was her tool as she wrote, "Welcome back to Brookhaven School." They sharpened their pencils and picked up their books. All morning long they kept shooting him looks. They headed to gym class, a quick softball game. When they went to pick teams, no one mentioned his name. At At lunch, Ricky Jensen, who thought he was cool, made everyone laugh when he shouted, "Hey, fool!" As Laszlo was leaving the line with his tray, someone tripped him. His food, it went every which way. The students all froze as they saw Laszlo's face, with french fries and ketchup all over the place. Oh. So these first weeks were lonely for this brand new kid. They made fun of him, all that he said and he did. So he kept his head bowed and stopped trying to please, and simply prepared for the next taunt and tease. One day after school, Ellie walked out the door, and she saw someone she hadn't seen there before. A lady whose face looked so tired and worn. She had tears in her eyes, and she seemed so forlorn. "Who is that?" Ellie asked of the student she saw. "Oh, that's Laszlo's mother," said Susie McShaw. "Her son's having trouble. She might pull him out. The school may be wrong for him. She's full of doubt." Ellie watched Mrs. Glasky as she walked towards her car. She thought about how things were going so far, about Laszlo and how he felt different and strange, and wondered aloud just what she could arrange. "I've got it," she said. "I'll ask him to play at my house, or his after school ends one day." The next morning she walked up to him at his locker. "Would you like to come over and maybe play soccer?" Stunned, he said, "Please come to my house and play." So Ellie said, "Sure I can. Let's pick a day." "How about Thursday?" he asked with a smile, a look that hadn't been seen on his face in a while. They walked home from school with their books in their arms, passing meadows and fields and couple of farms. They arrived at his door, greeted by his French poodle, and Miss Glasky was there with a plate of warm strudel. As they munched on the pastry, they made quite a mess, and Laszlo said, "Do you know how to play chess?" Ellie said, "Yes, but I'm not all that great." "That's okay," he replied. He soon said, "Checkmate." The afternoon ended. Ellie said, "This was fun." Laszlo just smiled and said, "Hey, thanks a ton for coming to my house and being my friend at school in town where I just don't fit in." Oh. At school the next day, the kids stopped her and said, "You were walking with Laszlo? Are you sick in the head?" Ellie paused and replied, "Now I know him, you see. Laszlo isn't that different from you and from me. He's terrific at chess, and his mom's really sweet. Playing soccer, the guy doesn't have two left feet. He may look slightly strange, have an accent and stuff, but if you knew him, you'd like him. It wouldn't be tough." Carrie looked at her friend and thought for a while, and when Laszlo walked up, she gave him a big smile. "Hey, Ellie. Hey, Laszlo, do you want to go play?" And they all walked outside on a beautiful day. The end, boys and girls, of The Brand New Kid by Katie Currid, illustrated by Marjorie Priceman. This book is a nice surprise. I'd never seen or heard of this book before, but I have to tell you, when everybody was making fun of him and they tripped him and no one tried to be his friend, it got me right here. You know how I am about friends with children and treating kids nicely and treating people how you want to be treated. So when it turned around, when Ellie came along and she saw his mom crying and she invited him, and that it turned to that, it brought me the greatest joy. Very sad at first, but then so much joy. And that's all it takes, boys and girls, is for one person to reach out their hand to you and ask you to be a friend. One day after school, Ellie walked out the door and she saw someone she hadn't seen before. A lady whose face looked so tired and worn. She had tears in her eyes and she seemed so forlorn. "Who is that?" Ellie asked of the student she saw. "Oh, that's Laszlo's mother," said Susie McShaw. "Her son's having trouble. She might pull him out the school. May be wrong for him." She's full of doubt. Ellie watched Mrs. Glasky as she walked towards the car. She thought about how long were going so far, how things were going so far, about Laszlo and how he felt different and strange, and wondered aloud just what she could change. So she wondered what she could change. Absolutely beautiful. Sometimes all it takes is just one person to wonder how they can help, which is what Ellie did. And then the very next day, my very favorite part, "I got it," she said. "I'll ask him to play at my house or his after school ends one day." The next morning she walked up to him at his locker. "Would you like to come over or maybe play soccer?" Stunned, he said, "Please come to my house and play." So Ellie said, "Sure, I can. Let's pick a day." That's all it took. That's all it takes, boys and girls. I think when we become adults, we have a little bit of a harder time making friends. But while you guys are little, this is the opportunity to make some really cool friends that you'll probably have for the rest of your life. So if you see somebody that is being treated not so nice in school, won't you be that person that comes up with the idea to befriend them and go over to them and talk to them? There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with being the person that says hello and extends a hand to be a friend. As a matter of fact, it makes you one of the greatest persons in the world. Like world's greatest teacher. You don't have to be a teacher to wear a shirt like this. You can just be great. And being great just means putting out your hand to somebody and showing them kindness. What do I always say? I want to put a little bit up here, I want to put a lot in your heart, and I want to make you laugh. And with this book, I feel like I did all of that. So, speaking of laugh, I am going to, on the theme of teachers, I had something I wanted to say tonight. Boys and girls, now that we are in COVID, there are a lot of teachers out there who are going to school and teaching and coming home and teaching. They are moms, they're dads, and they're teachers. So they're teaching 24/7 when they're not sleeping. They're dropping their kids off at school, and then they have to be at their jobs where they're teaching. Or maybe they're not going anywhere and they're getting up in the morning and they're making the breakfast and they're putting the family together to start the virtual learning on the computer someplace in your house. They're doing several jobs, teaching jobs. So they're not just teachers that are going to school and teaching. They're teaching in the home. They're parents who are teaching. And I can tell you that it's a very hard job. Teaching in your home, teaching at school, teaching in general. I got lucky because my daughter, her school year ended in March. And she was older, so she did all of her virtual learning herself, and she kept her own schedule. But I cannot imagine what it is like for parents who have to keep a schedule for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, and then having to do their own life, and then having to go to school and teach. So I wrote something down here that I just wanted to share. I have been lucky enough to meet some really nice teachers over the years that I feel have changed my life, and I just wanted to give them a shout out tonight, being that we're celebrating teachers. Miss Ronzetti, first grade. Miss Pachuco, kindergarten. Mr. Gentlecore, first grade, twice. Miss Murray, third grade. Miss Spiegel, first grade. Miss Vigilati in my high school, my English teacher who also taught my daughter. Mr. Stern, the music teacher who also taught my daughter. Mr. Ciccia, who also taught my daughter, and Mr. Gianetti, who also taught my daughter. Mrs. Body, who is a teacher as well as a mom. Mrs. Barth, who's a teacher as well as a mom. Mrs. Nolan, who's a teacher as well as a mom. Mr. Walker, who is a teacher as well as a dad. Mrs. Desai, who's a mom and a teacher. Mrs. Cave, who worked with me in after school and is a teacher now. Miss Christie, who worked with me and is in after school and is a teacher now. If I didn't read your name, it doesn't mean anything special. These are just the teachers who I wanted to say, in some way, they have taught me something in my life, and I find them to be the world's greatest teacher at something that they taught me. And I just wanted to say thank you, because I know you're doing a very hard job out there. It's a very hard job. And it's a different job now. It definitely is. But I want to tell you how much you are loved, how awesome you are, how it has been great to breathe the same air with you, share the same light, and share the same sun. And I just want to say, you are one of the best things that ever came into my life, because you made Miss B.O.R.E.D with Miss Reynolds who she is today. So thank you so much. Boys and girls, it is Miss Reynolds with B.O.R.E.D, Better Off Reading Every Day, B.O.R.E.D. And I just wanted to say, I know that it's not turning out the way that we had planned, but I believe it's going to work out just fine with all my heart. When was the last time you did something for the first time? We're all doing some things for the first time now, and we're doing our best, and that's all that you need to do. Your very, very best, and do it with love. It's been my pleasure, everybody. Thanks for being so great, and thanks for being in my life. Bye.